Kia ora. Welcome to Saturday the 23rd of July 2022. Up a little later this morning. Didn't get to bed till, or get to sleep anyway until quite early. Still woke up at the usual time, but figured I should probably rest a little longer. So you're about 8ish in the morning, post chores, so just taking in some of the heat. Not too much, because there's plenty of it apparently to go around today. Anyway, ramble this morning. Geo-Politics. Let's talk a little about geopolitics. It's up the level slightly. It's no great secret to those that know me that I have an interest in history and an interest in what's going on in the world, and not to a navel-gazing spend all day, every minute of every waking day type thing, but it's just something that I've always been interested in, ancient history particularly, and ancient medieval and recent history, I guess, just in terms of, all the stupid which is kind of happening at the moment. So I don't have any definite opinions, well, none that I probably want to share, so I don't like sharing stuff that I don't have an ability to back up. Occasionally I'll find some interesting things I think are relatively amusing and have some shock value, and throw those out there for comment. Some of my friends know. But ultimately, geopolitics is kind of where it's at. And this keys into the markers that are happening around us at the moment with the Russian so-called special operation in Ukraine, and what's happening in Syria and Iran, China, the big movers and shakers. Turkey's brokering machinations, Hungary's resilience against the United Nations. You could go so far as to say, what's happening with the COVID epidemic, and you can even go so far as to include markers in that, such as what's happening here in the States with, a lot of, particularly in the last year, a lot of accidents happening in industrial plants and disruptions to the supply chain and food chains and all manner of things, which, when you get maybe a dozen such incidents in the course of a year, and that changes in the last 12 months to over 100, something weird is happening, right? I don't know what's happening, but I think it's important to just keep an eye on the pulse of things. Geopolitics, that's a big thing. What can you do about it? And really the answer is nothing. All that you can really do is be aware that there are things happening in the greater world around you that may, relatively quickly or maybe further down the line, have an impact on you and yours, and what you get to do or don't do in the future. And that's really about it. And that kind of, I guess, leads me to, what is your sphere of influence again? Unless you're in a place where you can actually go to these forums and you're powerful enough to actually effect change at a macro level, then there's really diddly and squat that you can do about it. Sure, you can donate to larger organisations and feel good about yourself, and more power to you. You do you. But ultimately, anything that you can affect is pretty much in your immediate vicinity. your family, you, first and foremost, friends, maintaining relationships, maybe growing those relationships to strengthen them, something that you can achieve. And the other side of it is being able to discuss what's going on without people looking at you as if you're from another planet, calling you out, conspiracy theorist or whatever. Sure. The beautiful thing about theories is that the whole point that they exist is that they will always remain a theory until proven true or false, right? So again, you have to back it up with verifiable proof. But theories are healthy. It's healthy to theorize about things. I mean, after all, gravity was a theory for a while. So, okay. So, lots of Einstein's theory of relativity. Yeah, nobody bitches and moans about that. So, I don't know. Anyway, back to geopolitics. Well, this turns into a rant, not a ramble. I think it's important to be aware of what's going on. I think it's important, where possible, to vet your sources, as I've mentioned before. It's okay to make mistakes. I think it's very, very difficult at the moment to actually find the truth in things unless you're literally boots on the ground witnessing it for yourself in many circumstances, or fly on the wall, whatever. There's always going to be a degree of interference or static that masks what's really going on behind the scenes. And when it comes to major world powers, I mean, what you see even on the news, whether it's true or not, do you think they're just going to go, oh, by the way, here's our plans for blah, blah, blah in the next decade, and here's the details for how we're going to do it? And no, that's just not going to happen. All you're really doing is seeing signs, and you're seeing things happening that could lead to other things happening further down the line. Doesn't mean that they will. It's a very loud cicada. But it's just things to be aware of. But again, geopolitics, you can't do much about it. So what can you do about it? You can be a little more prepared. And as I've said before, I think hopefully I've said before, I'll say it again anyway, a little paranoia is healthy. Too much, however. There's a fine line between being considered, okay, that makes sense, and you are batshit crazy. Even if you're not batshit crazy. But I think people just need to be a little more aware of what's actually going on. Now the challenge, however, like everything at the moment, is nobody really wants to talk about it. Because, you get labelled and you get poo-pooed and dismissed out of hand. And it's becoming more and more difficult to have a rational discourse about some of this stuff. So I don't know how to fix that. I think that rift may be a little too big. Again, it comes back to associating with people who, and the only way to find out is really to have conversations with them, people that you can have a rational conversation with, even if you do not agree with what they say, and even if they do not agree with what you say, you can talk about it without butts getting hurt, without feelings making you run to your safe space or whatever, okay? And I think this is a skill that is not being taught, if it's even something that can be taught, encouraged is probably the better word. And that's part of the core problem at the moment in the world. And in case you think that that doesn't have long-term ramifications, and even if nothing goes ballistic or completely totalitarian or whatever, think about this in 30 years or 40 years' time. These people who are unable to have a conversation now without yelling, screaming, throwing their toys out of the cot, having to run to safe spaces, whatever, will become the leaders of tomorrow. What kind of world do you think that's going to be like? And there's your food for thought. I'm going to head back into the house because it is a little cold out here. It's colder in the house than it is out here. It's getting pretty warm. I hope you have a great day. Ramble again tomorrow. Kia ora, take care, bye.